The conference room at the Pentagon felt impossibly silent, despite the 27 most powerful people on the planet sitting around the massive oval table. Jake Harrison stood at the far end, his military dress uniform crisp and immaculate, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. The Kraxel ambassador towered nearly 3 meters tall, its exoskeleton a mottled green-gray that seemed to shimmer with an almost metallic quality. Humanity has precisely 72 hours to comply. The alien's translator device produced a cold, mechanical voice that somehow conveyed both boredom and absolute contempt. Your planetary resources have been cataloged. 70% will be transferred to Kraxel Confederacy Holdings. Resistance is mathematically improbable. Around the table, military commanders, political leaders, and scientific advisors exchanged glances. The Secretary of Defense, Richard Calloway, leaned forward. And if we refuse? The Kraxel's mandibles clicked, a sound that the translation device rendered as something between a laugh and a threat. Refusal results in complete planetary sterilization. Your civilization will be reduced to geological strata. A footnote. A memory. Jake watched the alien carefully. He'd spent the last decade studying extraterrestrial communication patterns, and something about this ultimatum felt off. The Kraxel were known for clinical precision, for calculated expansion. This felt almost performative. 70% of all resources, Jake repeated, his voice steady. That includes mineral deposits, agricultural land, oceanic resources, energy reserves. Correct. The ambassador's translator responded, including your nuclear and rare earth element repositories, your technological infrastructure, your economic foundations. Outside the Pentagon's reinforced windows, news helicopters were already circling. The global networks would be broadcasting this encounter within minutes. Jake could already imagine the worldwide panic, the economic markets beginning to destabilize, the pure terror that would grip millions. But Jake Harrison wasn't feeling terror. He was feeling something closer to anticipation. The Kraxel ambassador continued its monotone presentation, displaying holographic projections of planetary resource distribution, highlighting the sectors they intended to strip. Mineral-rich regions of Africa, the technological corridors of Silicon Valley, the agricultural heartlands of the American Midwest, rare earth deposits in South America, strategic energy reserves in the Middle East. Your compliance is mandatory, the alien concluded. 72 hours. No negotiation. As the alien finished speaking, a subtle vibration passed through the room. Most wouldn't have noticed it, a microscopic tremor that lasted less than a second. But Jake's hand, which had been resting near a specially designed tablet, twitched almost imperceptibly. The tablet's screen, facing away from the Kraxel, displayed a single line of text. VSOINITIALIZATIONCQUENC. Stage 1 complete. Nobody else saw it, but Jake allowed himself the faintest hint of a smile. The Kraxel ambassador regarded the human representatives, waiting for the expected pleading, the negotiation, the signs of desperation. Instead, it was met with a room full of professionals who seemed more curious than terrified. We will need to convene our global council, Secretary Calloway stated, his voice calm. Standard diplomatic protocols require a formal response. The alien's translator produced what could only be described as a dismissive click. Your protocols are irrelevant. Compliance or extinction. The mathematics are simple. As the diplomatic exchange continued, Jake studied the holographic projections. The Kraxel believed they had mapped humanity's resources with absolute precision. They believed they understood every variable, every potential response. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 72 hours. A countdown had begun, and humanity was about to show the galaxy exactly what happened when you underestimated a species that had survived ice ages, world wars, technological revolutions, and its own self-destructive tendencies. A species that, when cornered, didn't just fight back, it innovated. The Krexel ambassador couldn't know it yet, but they had just made the greatest mistake of their civilization's history. Would you like me to continue to the next part or elaborate on any specific aspect of this expanded section? The underground facility beneath Cheyenne Mountain was anything but a typical military installation. Rows of quantum processors hummed with a barely contained energy, their liquid cooling systems creating a constant, low-frequency vibration that most technicians had long since stopped noticing. Ashley Winters stood before a wall of holographic displays, her fingers dancing across multiple interface points simultaneously. At 35, she was a prodigy who had long ago transcended traditional cybersecurity boundaries. Her team, a mix of former military programmers, quantum computing experts, and AI specialists, worked with a single, unified purpose. Initial Krexel communication protocols are breaking down, muttered Ryan Chen, her lead quantum systems analyst. Their encryption is complex, but not impenetrable. Ashley nodded, her eyes never leaving the cascading lines of code. Battle Systems Online wasn't just a defense network, it was a living, breathing technological organism. Each line of code was a neural pathway, each processor a potential weapon, each communication channel a potential invasion route. They think they've mapped our resources, she said quietly, but they have no idea what they're looking at. The BSO project had been a decade in the making. What began as a theoretical defense concept had evolved into something far more sophisticated. Most global powers believed they were developing standard cyber defense systems. In reality, Ashley and her team had created something closer to an artificial immune system for an entire planet. The facility itself was a marvel of engineering. Located deep within the mountain, it was designed to survive everything from nuclear strikes to electromagnetic pulse attacks. Multiple redundant power systems, quantum encrypted communication networks, self-repairing infrastructure that could literally rebuild itself faster than an opponent could destroy it. Preliminary analysis shows the Krexel communication network relies on quantum entanglement, Ryan continued. But their encryption has a fundamental weakness in its predictive algorithms. Ashley's lips curved into a slight smile. Weakness was an opportunity. The BSO wasn't just a defensive system. It was an adaptive learning platform that could analyze, understand, and ultimately counteract technological threats in real time. Each interaction with the Krexel communication networks was adding to its knowledge base, building a comprehensive understanding of alien technological infrastructure. Begin passive infiltration protocols, Ashley commanded. I want a complete map of their communication networks within the next 6 hours. Around her, technicians worked with a precision that bordered on choreography. Fingers flew across haptic interfaces, quantum processors hummed. Massive data streams were analyzed, parsed, and understood in milliseconds. What made BSO truly revolutionary wasn't just its technological sophistication. It was its ability to learn, to adapt, to evolve faster than any traditional computer system. Traditional AI was about pattern recognition. BSO was about pattern creation. Initial breach confirmed, Ryan announced. We're in their tertiary communication relays. Ashley watched as complex algorithms began dissecting the Krexel's communication infrastructure. Not just reading, not just analyzing, but understanding. Learning their technological language at a fundamental level. The Krexel believed they were dealing with a standard planetary defense system. They had no concept of what BSO truly represented. A global neural network, a planetary immune system, a technological entity that could think, adapt, and respond faster than any biological or mechanical intelligence ever conceived. Total system integration in 3 hours, one of the junior analysts reported. BSO is now interfacing with global communication networks, military systems, and civilian infrastructure. Ashley knew the true power of what they had created. BSO wasn't just a defense system. It was a method of planetary coordination that could mobilize resources, communicate, and respond to threats with a speed and precision that would seem like magic to any external observer. The Krexel thought they were delivering an ultimatum. In reality, they had just triggered the most sophisticated technological response in human history, and they had no idea. "Initiate full system diagnostic," Ashley said, her voice calm. "We're going live in less than 3 hours." The mountain facility continued its quiet humming. Outside, the world remained largely unaware of the technological marvel being prepared. But when the moment came, humanity would be ready. More than ready. Would you like me to continue to the next part or elaborate on any specific aspect of this expanded section? The Kraxel Confederacy's primary tactical command ship, the Void Dominion, hung in Earth's orbit like a massive obsidian shard. Its quantum-based computational systems were considered the pinnacle of technological achievement across 17 star systems. Captain Zexnar, a veteran of over 200 planetary subjugations, watched the blue-green planet below with a mixture of professional detachment and mild curiosity. "Preliminary resource extraction protocols are ready for implementation," reported his secondary tactical officer, a lower-ranked Kraxel with iridescent exoskeletal markings denoting years of service. What neither of them realized was that every communication, every data stream, every microscopic signal was being dissected by the battle system's online network. Inside the Cheyenne Mountain facility, Ashley Winters and her team were conducting a masterclass in technological infiltration. The BSO wasn't just intercepting Kraxel communications, it was learning their entire technological language at a molecular level. "Look at this," Ryan Chen said, pulling up a holographic display that looked like a complex, three-dimensional neural network. "Their quantum communication relies on a predictive encryption model that assumes linear threat assessment, but we're introducing non-linear response patterns." Ashley nodded. The Kraxel's technological paradigm was fundamentally hierarchical and predictive. They analyzed threats based on historical data, mathematical projections, and established combat protocols. Humanity's technological approach was fundamentally different, chaotic, adaptive, almost organic in its unpredictability. On the Void Dominion, Captain Zexnar received the first indication that something was unusual. A minor communication glitch. A microsecond delay in their quantum relay systems. Insignificant to most, but to a species that prided itself on technological perfection, it was a red flag. "Run a complete diagnostic," he commanded, his translator device converting his complex mandible clicks into crisp, emotionless language. What happened next would be recorded in Galactic historical archives as the first true demonstration of human technological innovation. The BSO wasn't just intercepting communications, it was simultaneously analyzing the Kraxel's communication protocols, creating adaptive counter-encryption algorithms, building a comprehensive map of their technological infrastructure, preparing potential counter-strategies. "They don't understand randomness," Ashley murmured. "Their entire technological model is based on predictability. We're going to show them true technological chaos." In orbit, the Kraxel began experiencing inexplicable system anomalies. Communication relays would momentarily desynchronize. Quantum encryption keys would spontaneously mutate. Computational projections would suddenly introduce variables that defied their established mathematical models. "This is impossible," the Void Dominion's chief technological officer reported, his multifaceted eyes rapidly shifting colors. A Kraxel biological response to extreme cognitive dissonance. Captain Zexnar understood something fundamental was happening. The humans were doing something that violated every established principle of technological engagement. They were treating technology like a living organism. Each Kraxel system was a precisely engineered machine. Each human technological response was becoming a shape-shifting, adaptive entity that could change its fundamental nature in milliseconds. Back in the mountain facility, Ashley watched the global network transform. Military systems, civilian infrastructure, communication networks, everything was becoming part of a single, breathing technological organism. "We're not just defending," she told her team. "We're evolving." The BSO was introducing something the Kraxel had never encountered: technological unpredictability as a weapon system. Every attempt to analyze human technological responses was being met with a system that could fundamentally change its own nature faster than it could be comprehended. Quantum relay stability at 62%, Ryan reported. They have no idea what's happening. On the Void Dominion, Captain Zexnar made a fatal mistake common to technologically arrogant civilizations. He assumed that what he didn't understand could be conquered through superior force. He was about to learn how wrong that assumption could be. The first true battle would not be fought with weapons. It would be fought with lines of code. And humanity was just getting started. Would you like me to continue to the next part or elaborate on any specific aspect of this expanded section? From the hidden command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Mike Rodriguez watched the first phase of the cyber assault unfold like a digital symphony. A former Navy SEAL turned cybersecurity specialist, he understood warfare in ways the Kraxel could never comprehend. Warfare wasn't just about firepower. It was about adaptability, creativity, and the ability to turn an enemy's strengths into vulnerabilities. Breach sequence initiated. He spoke softly, his fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. Target: Kraxel Quantum Communication Relays. The BSO network had spent the last hours meticulously mapping the alien communication infrastructure. What the Kraxel saw as an impenetrable quantum encryption system, Ashley and Mike saw as an intricate puzzle waiting to be dismantled. The first wave of the attack wasn't a traditional cyber assault. It was something far more sophisticated. Quantum resonance algorithms are online, Ryan Chin reported. Each line of code was a weapon, each algorithm a precision-guided missile, designed to exploit the most microscopic weaknesses in the Kraxel's technological framework. On the Void Dominion, the first signs of trouble began as a mere whisper. Quantum communication nodes started to desynchronize. Encryption keys began to flutter and shift, like digital butterfly wings caught in an unexpected storm. Captain Zexnar noticed the first anomaly when a critical tactical report became momentarily fragmented. "Status report," he demanded, his mandibles clicking with increasing agitation. The technological officer's response was a mixture of confusion and rising panic. "Sir, our quantum communication relays are experiencing unprecedented interference, but there's no detectable external source." What was happening defied their entire understanding of technological warfare. The BSO wasn't just attacking the Kraxel's communication systems. It was teaching them a fundamental lesson about the nature of technological vulnerability. Each Kraxel communication node operated on a principle of hierarchical information transfer: precise, predictable, vulnerable. Mike Rodriguez's team had developed something the aliens could never have anticipated: a cyber weapon that didn't just breach systems, but fundamentally rewrote their operational logic. Adaptive encryption cascade initiated, Mike murmured. The attack wasn't about destroying the Kraxel systems. It was about making those systems temporarily incomprehensible to their own operators. Entire battle groups began to experience systemic communication breakdowns. Tactical networks became a maze of conflicting information. Quantum encryption keys began to generate impossible mathematical sequences that defied the Kraxel's computational models. They're using their own technological complexity as a weapon against them, Ashley observed, watching the holographic displays with a mixture of professional detachment and scientific excitement. On the Void Dominion, Captain Zexnar was experiencing something unprecedented in his centuries of military service: uncertainty. The human cyber assault wasn't just breaking through their defenses. It was fundamentally challenging the Kraxel's understanding of technological warfare. Multiple communication relays are going dark, the technological officer reported, his multifaceted eyes shifting through a rapid sequence of colors that denoted extreme cognitive stress. What the Kraxel didn't understand was that the BSO network was doing something far more sophisticated than a traditional cyber attack. It was learning, adapting. Each microsecond of interaction was adding to its comprehensive understanding of alien technological infrastructure. Mike Rodriguez allowed himself a slight smile. "First phase complete," he announced to the team. "They're blind. Not destroyed. Not obliterated. just temporarily unable to comprehend their own technological ecosystem. The first true battle of the conflict had been fought with lines of code, mathematical algorithms, and a fundamental understanding that technology was not a static weapon, but a living, breathing entity. And humanity had just demonstrated that they were the ultimate technological apex predators. Captain Zexnar was about to learn a fundamental lesson. When cornered, humanity didn't just fight back. It innovated. Would you like me to continue to the next part or elaborate on any specific aspect of this expanded section? The Kraxel Confederacy had conquered civilizations across 17 star systems. They had reduced entire planetary populations to resource extraction units. They had technological systems that had remained fundamentally unchanged for 12 generations. They had never encountered anything like humanity's response. Aboard the Void Dominion, Captain Zexnar watched in mounting frustration as his battle groups began to experience systemic failures that defied all logical comprehension. Energy weapon synchronization became erratic. Quantum communication networks flickered like dying neural connections. "Initiate full offensive protocols," he commanded, his translator device converting his complex mandible clicks into a cold mechanical directive. What the Kraxel didn't understand was that every attack was another lesson for the battle system's online network. In the underground facility beneath Cheyenne Mountain, Ashley Winters and her team were orchestrating a technological defense that was more living organism than traditional computer network. Each Kraxel weapon signature was being analyzed, understood, and ultimately neutralized in microseconds. Their energy weapon frequencies are predictable, Ryan Chen observed, manipulating holographic displays that looked like complex, three-dimensional neural networks. They're using a cascading quantum resonance model that assumes linear energy projection. Ashley nodded. The Kraxel's technological approach was fundamentally hierarchical and rigid. Humanity's response was fluid, adaptive, almost organic in its unpredictability. The first massive energy weapon barrage from the Kraxel fleet would have obliterated most planetary defenses. Terawatts of concentrated quantum-modulated energy streams targeted critical global infrastructure. Enough firepower to crack continental shelves, to boil oceans, to reduce entire cities to plasma. But the BSO network was waiting. Adaptive Shield Harmonics Online, Mike Rodriguez reported. The shield wasn't just a traditional defensive barrier. It was a living, breathing technological membrane that could analyze, understand, and ultimately redirect incoming energy. The Kraxel weapon signatures hit Earth's defensive perimeter, and something unprecedented happened. Instead of being absorbed or destroyed, the massive energy streams were partially reflected, their quantum signatures subtly modified. The same destructive energy was being turned back against the alien attack groups. Energy redirection at 62% efficiency, Ryan reported, his fingers dancing across multiple interface points. On the Void Dominion, Captain Zexnar watched in mounting horror as entire battle groups began to experience cascading system failures. Weapon systems that should have been capable of planetary destruction were being neutralized, their own energy turned against them. "This is mathematically impossible," the ship's chief technological officer reported, his multifaceted eyes rapidly shifting colors, a Kraxel biological response to extreme cognitive dissonance. The BSO network was doing something far more sophisticated than simple defense. It was learning, adapting. Each microsecond of interaction was adding to its comprehensive understanding of alien technological infrastructure. Ashley understood the fundamental principle that the Kraxel could not comprehend. Technology was not a static weapon, but a living, evolving entity. "They're treating their technology like a machine," she told her team. "We're treating ours like a living organism." The Kraxel's weapon systems were precise, calculated, predictable. Humanity's response was chaos, adaptation, evolution. With each attack, the BSO network grew stronger, more sophisticated, more incomprehensible to its alien attackers. Captain Zexnar was experiencing something unprecedented in his centuries of military service. For the first time in the Kraxel Confederacy's expansionist history, they were encountering a species that didn't just resist. They transformed. The escalation had begun, and humanity was just getting started. Would you like me to continue to the next part or elaborate on any specific aspect of this expanded section? The moment Ashley Winters realized they could weaponize information itself was the moment the entire conflict transformed. The BSO network began broadcasting the Kraxel's internal communications across multiple frequencies, not just in human-readable formats, but in a way that would penetrate every level of the alien fleet's communication infrastructure. It wasn't just interception. It was psychological deconstruction. We're going to turn their own communication network into a weapon, Ashley explained to Mike Rodriguez, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that looked like complex, living neural networks. On the Void Dominion, Captain Zexnar first noticed something was wrong when routine tactical communications began to change. Personal communications between Kraxel officers started appearing on open channels. Moments of doubt, whispered concerns about the mission, confidential strategic assessments that were never meant to be shared. The network exposed the intricate, previously hidden layers of the Kraxel military hierarchy. One particular transmission caught the entire facility's attention. HFY Sci-Fi tactical communication. Kuantuvium encywarwigtiki on Level 9. Sub-Commander Krultax. These humans are not responding like any species we've encountered. Our mathematical models are insufficient. Senior Tactical Analyst Vexnar. The probability of mission failure is increasing exponentially with each engagement. Our predictive algorithms are becoming unreliable. The translation wasn't just linguistic. It was a complete exposure of the Kraxel's internal psychological landscape. Ryan Chen watched the data streams with scientific fascination. They operate on pure mathematical probability, he observed. But we're introducing variables they can't calculate. The BSO network was doing something far more sophisticated than traditional psychological warfare. It was systematically dismantling the Kraxel's technological and hierarchical confidence. Entire battle groups began experiencing cascading communication failures, not through direct technological intervention, but through the simple exposure of their own doubts, fears, and internal conflicts. We're not just fighting them, Ashley explained. We're making them fight themselves. The Kraxel communication infrastructure, which had been a point of immense pride, became their greatest vulnerability. Each exposed communication was another blow to their collective confidence. Tactical discussions revealed deep fractures in the Kraxel military structure. Sub-commanders questioning senior leadership, strategic disagreements about humanity's potential resistance, mathematical models that were becoming increasingly uncertain. Captain Zexnar watched in mounting horror as his fleet's internal communications became a weapon more devastating than any physical assault. Shut down all communication networks, he commanded, but it was too late. The BSO had already penetrated their systems at a fundamental level. Cutting communication would only increase the psychological damage, revealing their own uncertainty and fear. Mike Rodriguez understood the true power of what they were doing. We're not just defending, he told Ashley. We're systematically destroying their will to fight. The Kraxel had spent generations perfecting a military model based on mathematical certainty, hierarchical precision, and overwhelming technological superiority. Humanity was introducing something they could never have anticipated: technological chaos, psychological uncertainty, the ability to turn an enemy's strengths into fundamental weaknesses. On the Void Dominion, Captain Zexnar was experiencing something unprecedented in his centuries of military service: pure, unquantifiable human unpredictability. And for the first time in the Kraxel Confederacy's expansionist history, they were truly afraid. The psychological warfare had only just begun. Would you like me to continue to the next part or elaborate on any specific aspect of this expanded section? Dr. Ashley Winters stood at the epicenter of humanity's most ambitious technological endeavor. The battle system's online network was no longer just a defense system. It had become a living, breathing planetary response mechanism that defied every known principle of technological warfare. Full system integration commencing, Mike Rodriguez announced, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were about to unleash. The first wave of swarm drones emerged from hidden launch sites across the globe. But these weren't traditional military weapons. They were quantum-entangled, adaptive technological organisms that could think, communicate, and evolve faster than any biological or mechanical intelligence. Each drone was more than a simple machine. It was a node in a global neural network that could instantaneously share information, adapt to changing battlefield conditions, and coordinate with a level of precision that would seem like magic to any external observer. On the Void Dominion, Captain Zexnar watched in mounting horror as something unprecedented began to unfold. The swarm drones didn't just attack. They analyzed. They learned. They transformed. Quantum adaptive response protocols are online, Ryan Chen reported, his fingers moving across interfaces that looked like complex, living neural networks. We're not just defending. We're actively rewriting the rules of technological engagement. The drones began to do something the Kraxel had never encountered. They didn't just target specific ship systems. They began to understand the entire alien technological ecosystem. A single drone would approach a Kraxel battle cruiser, not to destroy it, but to map its entire technological infrastructure. In milliseconds, it would analyze communication protocols, weapon systems, propulsion mechanisms. Then, it would share that information instantaneously with every other drone in the network. They're treating technology like a living organism, Ashley observed, not as a machine to be destroyed, but as a system to be understood and ultimately controlled. The Kraxel's quantum communication networks began to experience catastrophic failures, not through traditional cyber attacks, but through a comprehensive understanding that allowed the BSO to essentially speak the aliens' technological language, and then rewrite its fundamental rules. Entire battle groups found their most advanced weapon systems turning against them. Propulsion mechanisms would suddenly develop inexplicable quantum instabilities. Communication relays would become momentarily sentient, sharing information that was never intended to be shared. Captain Zexnar was experiencing something unprecedented in the Kraxel Confederacy's expansionist history: total technological uncertainty. Our predictive models are becoming invalid, his chief technological officer reported, multifaceted eyes shifting through colors that denoted extreme cognitive stress. The humans are introducing variables we cannot calculate. Back in the mountain facility, Mike Rodriguez understood the true nature of what they had created. The BSO wasn't just a defense network. It was a planetary immune system, a technological organism that could learn, adapt, and respond faster than any traditional computational model could comprehend. We're not fighting a war, Ashley said quietly. We're demonstrating an entirely new principle of technological engagement. The swarm drones began to do something truly unprecedented. They didn't just neutralize Kraxel technological systems. They began to understand them so completely that they could essentially reprogram them in real time. A Kraxel battle cruiser's weapon system would suddenly recognize the drones not as a threat, but as an extension of its own technological ecosystem. Quantum shields would lower. Communication networks would become inexplicably transparent. Full system dominance at 74% and climbing, Ryan reported. The turning point wasn't a moment of traditional military victory. It was a fundamental demonstration that humanity's true strength wasn't in destruction. It was in understanding, in adaptation, in the ability to turn an enemy's most sophisticated technologies into a weapon against themselves. The Kraxel Confederacy was about to learn a lesson that would be remembered across 17 star systems. Never underestimate a species that treats technology as a living, breathing entity. Would you like me to continue to the next part or elaborate on any specific aspect of this expanded section? The final moments of the conflict weren't marked by explosions or traditional military triumph. Instead, they unfolded with a clinical precision that would be studied by civilizations across the galaxy for generations to come. The remaining Kraxel vessels retreated in a manner that was anything but orderly. Their once pristine battle formations dissolved into a chaotic dispersal that betrayed something the alien species had never experienced before: complete technological vulnerability. Jake Harrison watched from the Pentagon's Situation Room as the last Kraxel ships limped away from Earth's orbit. The holographic displays showed more than just a tactical retreat. They illustrated the complete deconstruction of a seemingly invincible technological empire. They came expecting to find a resource-rich planet with a primitive defense system, Mike Rodriguez said, a hint of sardonic humor in his voice. Instead, they found a living technological organism that they couldn't comprehend. Ashley Winters stood beside him, her eyes reflecting the complex holographic displays. The battle system's online network had done more than just defend Earth. It had fundamentally redefined the concept of technological warfare. On the Void Dominion, Captain Zexnar experienced the most humiliating moment in the Kraxel Confederacy's expansionist history. Their quantum communication networks were in shambles. Their tactical systems had been so thoroughly compromised that entire battle groups could no longer communicate effectively. The global celebration that followed was unlike any previous victory in human history. This wasn't a triumph of military might, but a demonstration of humanity's most profound strength: adaptability, innovation, and the ability to transform technological challenges into opportunities. "We didn't just defend ourselves," Ashley explained to the Global Leadership Council. "We demonstrated an entirely new paradigm of technological engagement." The BSO network had become something more than a defense system. It was a planetary immune system, a living, breathing technological organism that could learn, adapt, and respond with a speed and creativity that defied traditional computational models. Diplomatic channels across the globe began to light up. Other spacefaring civilizations watched with a mixture of terror and fascination. The Kraxel Confederacy's defeat wasn't just a military loss. It was a fundamental challenge to their entire understanding of technological superiority. "This changes everything," Jake Harrison told the assembled global leaders. "We're no longer just another potential resource-rich planet. We're a technological apex predator." The consequences extended far beyond the immediate conflict. The BSO network had demonstrated capabilities that would reshape humanity's approach to technological development, global cooperation, and interstellar engagement. Quantum computing labs around the world began to receive unprecedented funding. The collaborative model that had created the BSO network became a blueprint for global technological innovation. Ryan Chen, analyzing the final data streams, discovered something even more profound. The BSO network hadn't just defended against the Kraxel. It had learned from them. Each moment of interaction had been a moment of technological evolution. "We've essentially created a planetary learning system," he explained to Ashley. "Every technological interaction becomes an opportunity for growth." The Kraxel Confederacy would return to their home systems with a message that would fundamentally alter their expansionist strategies. Humanity was not a resource to be exploited. It was a technological force to be understood and potentially respected. As the last alien vessels disappeared from Earth's orbital space, a new era of human potential began to unfold. Jake Harrison allowed himself a small smile. The ultimate weapon wasn't a piece of technology. It was the human capacity to transform, to innovate, to see opportunity where others saw only threat. The galaxy had just received its first true lesson about humanity. We don't just survive. We evolve. Would you like me to elaborate on any specific aspect of this final part, or discuss the broader themes of the story?